In Pit Lane is proudly brought to you by Online Invent, website design, online marketing, and software development. For more info, visit our website. And welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane here on Channel 31 Melbourne. Now, coming up a little bit later on in the program, we're going to take you out to Ringwood. We're going to catch up with Sports Sedan builder and driver Travis Condon. Travis's car is very much a traditional sports sedan. It's really going back to the old principles of sports sedan. You know, finding the smallest car, the cheapest car you can find, and whacking the biggest, most powerful engine that you can manage to squeeze into it and going racing. It's a great little car, and you're going to find out more about it a little bit later on in the program. But look, it's been a very busy week on the international front as far as motorsport goes. Let's not waste any more time. Let's head straight to the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Well, Mustang competitors will go into this week's Townsville 500 with renewed confidence after finally being given the parity adjustments that they so desperately wanted, with Supercars Australia announcing aerodynamic changes to the rear of the Fords. According to Supercars, a parity review determined that there were minor differences in rear downforce of the Mustang and the Camaro and its performance in the braking zone following a multi-lap overlay. As a result, the Mustangs will receive a modification of the position, span and angle of their rear wing and an increase in the size of the rear spoiler. Despite the late announcement, Ford teams are confident that the modifications will be in place for this weekend's races through the streets of Townsville. Well, this weekend's race also marks the 500th Supercar race start for the reigning champion Shane van Gisbergen. The New Zealand driver made his debut in the series back at the Oran Park round in 2007, where he finished in 20th place. Since then, he's gone on to win 3 championships, as well as 2 Bathurst 1000s. He's also won the Bathurst 12 Hours and 6 Hours, and as well a New Zealand Grand Prix. Last weekend, he made his debut in the NASCAR Championship on a brand new street course in Chicago. Look, you probably already know how he went, but if not, you're about to find out, as it's that story that leads this week's In Pit Lane International Wrap. Current Australian Supercar champion Shane van Gisbergen created history on the streets of Chicago with a win in his NASCAR debut. Chicago may be known as the Windy City, but it was the rain that delayed the start and provided for some very challenging conditions. Conditions that were ideal for van Gisbergen, who immediately showed his speed by qualifying third in his first ever NASCAR race. After falling back in the pack as far as 18th, van Gisbergen did what van Gisbergen does, clinically scything his way through the field and into the top 10. As NASCAR's best struggled in the unfamiliar environment of a tough and narrow street circuit, the Giz was right at home and moved through the top 10, and on lap 70, the New Zealand driver grabbed the lead from Justin Haley. Haley briefly fought back, but resistance was futile as van Gisbergen surged to the front, holding on to become the first driver since Johnny Rutherford in 1964 to win on his NASCAR debut. Meanwhile, at Mid-Ohio, Alex Palou has won his 3rd consecutive IndyCar Series race and his 4th win in 5 races. Palou won the race by just over 5 seconds ahead of another fast Kiwi in Scott Dixon, with Australian driver Will Power grabbing his 3rd podium finish of the season. The win extended Palou's championship lead to 110 points after second place Marcus Ericsson ran over the Arrow McLaren of fellow Swedish driver Felix Rosenqvist on the opening lap, effectively ending his race. Ericsson's crew was able to make repairs to the front suspension, but Ericsson finished last in the 27-car field, dropping him down to 4th in the standings. Scott McLaughlin had an uneventful race to come home in 5th place. A driver with an even more impressive run of victories is Max Verstappen, who once again dominated the latest round of the Formula One World Championship with a win at his team's home event in Austria. After an entertaining fight with his teammate in Saturday's sprint race, Verstappen led all the way in the main event as he stretched out his championship lead. Ferrari, fresh from their Le Mans 24 Hours win, seemed more motivated with Charles Leclerc taking second. Verstappen's teammate Sergio Perez drove back through the pack to recover to third after a disappointing qualifying session. And it was an eventful weekend for Chaz Mostert at Spa after coming from a pit lane start to win his class in the annual Spa 24-hour race. Mostert was forced to start from pit lane after team owner Kenny Habul crashed the team's Mercedes in practice, writing the car off and sending Kenny to hospital with serious back injuries. But even as he lay in his hospital bed, Kenny was quickly working the phones, organising another car. And it was this car that took the bronze class victory. The main race win went to the Rover Racing BMW of Philip Eng, Marco Wittmann and Nick Yellowoy. Motorsport Australia has introduced a new tarmac rally licence structure in line with recommendations of the Targa Review Panel. Starting from August the 1st, all new national rally licence applicants must undergo mandatory biennial medical exams regardless of age. From January the 1st, 2024, current national rally licence holders aged 45 years or older will also be required to have a medical exam every second year, aligning that with the requirements for circuit racing licence holders. Also, the Australian Rally Commission has approved a new tarmac rally licence structure based on the TRP's recommendations. This structure includes completing an Australian Driving Institute course with licence eligibility determined by experience. The TRP was formed in response to 4 fatalities during Targa Tasmania competitions over a 2-year period. As a result, Motorsport Australia accredited Targa-style rallying was suspended due to the TRP's report identifying it as an unacceptably high risk. This year's Targa Tasmania event had to be postponed, but is now scheduled to take place from October 23rd to the 28th. Well, could the single-seat Can-Am concept be ready for a comeback via Formula One? The FIA intends to test a proposed solution to reduce rain spray from Formula One cars and improve the race chances of racing in heavily wet conditions following the British Grand Prix. The wet weather test will take place on the Thursday after the British race, with Mercedes and McLaren both taking part. The FIA's aerodynamic team has put together a design for bolt-on wheel coverings designed to prevent spray being thrown into the air and creating visibility issues that regularly leads to racers being red flagged. This concept sounds frighteningly similar to many of the cars that raced in the US-based single-seat Can-Am series that replaced Formula 5000 in the 1980s, famous for some of the ugliest race cars ever built. And also some of the prettiest. You're watching In Pit Lane here on Channel 31. When we come back, we're going to take you out to Ringwood and we're going to catch up with Travis Condon. He's got a very much a throwback to another time, a very much an old-fashioned sports sedan. He calls it the Turtle, and we're going to find out more about that when we return. You're watching In Pit Lane. It's Channel 31 Melbourne and the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Yes, are you ready to take your business to new heights in the digital world? Then look no further than In Pit Lane sponsor Online Invent, the experts in web design and website development since 2007. Online Invent have helped countless businesses and personal customers establish a strong online presence. They've certainly made a huge difference to us here on In Pit Lane. Now, whether you need a custom-made business website, an online store or e-commerce solutions, Online Invent has you covered. They specialise in search engine optimization, SEO. I don't understand any of this. SEO, apparently SEO is a good thing. STDs are the bad one. I get those two mixed up, which can be somewhat embarrassing at times. But anyway, they're experts in, not STDs, in SEO to ensure that your website generates more leads from search engines, and their social media services and digital marketing strategies will help you reach a wider audience than ever before. But that's not all. Online Invent has extensive experience building custom online software and web applications, from systems for sales representatives to online point-of-sale systems, inventory systems and automated billing systems. Online Invent has got the expertise to streamline your business operations. They can also provide you with top-notch graphic design services to bring your brand to life with stunning visuals that leave a lasting impression. A good lasting impression, I should point out. Whether it's a business, a race team, a car or bike club or an event organiser, Online Invent are here to assist you with all your website design and web development requirements. Look, don't miss out on the opportunities that the online world has to offer. Call Online Invent today and discuss your needs. Their team of experts are ready and waiting to show you what they can do for you. Contact Online Invent at their website www.onlineinvent.com.au. Online Invent, your gateway to online success. And once again, we say a huge thank you to Online Invent for their support of In Pit Lane, RMI TV and community television. Okay, well, we're here at Northern Soda Blast here in the outer suburbs of Melbourne, and we're here with Travis Condon. And Travis, we're standing in front of an absolute beast of a machine here. This is very much a traditional sports sedan, isn't it? I mean, this isn't sort of one of your space-framed sort of carbon composite wonder machines. This actually has genuine bits of Toyota on it.
Yeah.
Tell us where the car come from.
I actually bought it off a friend of mine for $200. It was a standard car back in the day, and we just used to joke about making it a race car. Then he passed away not long after that, Jason did, and I sort of felt a bit of a obligation, I guess, to turn it into somewhat of a race car, and from there the passion grew.
How did it evolve? I mean, at what point did you decide? I mean, we're looking at the engine. I mean, that is not your stock standard Toyota, even though I see the compliance plate is still on there, so I'm sure that you can get that through Vic roads. Tell us what's under the admittedly fiberglass bonnet.
Well, just as a bit of a laugh, actually, this car was only on the road registered 4 years ago, but from there, things went a little out of control. It used to have a 1.6 litre turbo 4AEG in it, and we were really running a lot of boost in it and kept blowing it up over and over and over. Like we'd split blocks, we'd split the bore, do head gaskets constantly. It was like every time we went out we had to pull the motor apart, and it just got very tiring doing that, to be honest, and expensive. So I woke up one night and went, I'm going to put an LS in it. And for the reliability factor, it's just been smooth sailing since. It's not the 6 litre, it's the 5.7. Look, we had some issues with the first motor where the crank flexed. So it's got a billet crank in it now. It's got custom pistons and a good set of rods in it. Nathan Higgins just ported the heads recently. Oversized valves, a big camshaft. Tony from Speedworks in Ringwood here, he does all the machining and the building of this engine. We've gone to roller rockers. The fast inlet manifold has certainly helped as well, get it breathing. I've had to make a set of custom headers for it, which was very time consuming. So that's the overall engine package. We're now running E85 in it as well to keep things safer, and we thought we'd be running a bit more timing, but we're actually not with the E85, so it seems to be working well. We've got 505 horsepower now at the hubs, so it's definitely underpowered for what our national sports sedan category is compared to all these tube chassis cars. But it's we're on a budget as well, and just doing the best we can and having a good time. I do everything myself, whether I paint the car or do the welding, making the roll cage, even down to making all the panels. I do everything myself, and that's what makes it affordable for me, to be able to go out and have a good time with blokes that have got the money, and don't get me wrong, they work just as hard as what I do behind the scenes, and they're not all, just because they've got big budgets doesn't mean that they don't put in either.
as you can probably see on the wide shot over here, that we're actually, the car is actually on a hoist at the moment. So seeing it's on a hoist, why don't we whack it into the air and have a look at what's underneath the car?
No worries.
We are under the car right now. So tell us what we're looking at. We looked at the engine. We've got the transmission there. What sort of transmission are we running?
Yep. So we run a modern 6-speed sequential dog box, which are absolutely brilliant. Definitely make up time by having a sequential. And then I've got things like the adjustable sway bars. So again, very supercar-like, where I can adjust them inside the car, and ranging from going hard on our blades to off to soft. We've just upgraded our brakes, and I've put in some massive PFC monoblock calipers, which is put the braking pressure actually through the roof, put an extra 300 PSI on the pedal for us, which is taking a little bit of getting used to again, but I can definitely go deeper under brakes now, and that puts a big smile on my face.
So what's the suspension on? I mean, is this something you've designed yourself, or?
Yeah, so we actually built the suspension ourselves. I actually used Peter Turk just down the road here. Now, they're actually Penske 50mm inserts, and yeah, put it into our whole new tube system ourselves.
Okay, and at the front there, I can see there's a sort of oil cooler behind your radiator there. So keeping the whole thing cool and not a problem.
Yeah, we're pretty happy. I've had to move that around a few times to try and work out exactly where the best spot is for it. Our oil temperatures, sitting no more than 105 degrees now at full noise, which is great, because that's exactly where the engine builder wants to have the oil temperature. And well, our radiator, which Rod at Race Radiators made, is absolutely fantastic. At full noise, after a 20-minute session, our temperature's only at 85 degrees. So we actually had to blanket off at Winton just recently because it was only 10 degrees outside, and our temperature wasn't coming up above 65. So we had to blanket off to bring the temperature in, but no, everything's working pretty well up the front here.
Okay, so let's have a look at the back of the car. What have we got back here that is of interest?
Well, I've got so Kevin from DK Race has actually built a housing for me to house the 9-inch. We've also got Race Products camber wedged floating axles in there. So it doesn't really get much better than that, I guess, as far as reliability goes, and great products.
Hey, look, thanks for bringing it up for us. We'll pop this down. We'll have a good look at it with the rest of the bodywork on, and we'll talk a bit about things like aerodynamics and the bodywork, what you've done with that as well.
Yes.
But right now we're here with Travis Condon here on In Pit Lane. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Travis. And what do we call it? Is it the Green Mamba? I mean, what's this nickname?
It's actually nicknamed the Turtle.
The Turtle. We'll be back with more with now there's the YouTube thumbnail. Time with Travis's Turtle. You're watching In Pit Lane. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to In Pit Lane, where we're here with Travis Condon in front of the. We now know that it's called the Turtle, and we've got the body panels on. And in terms of obviously aerodynamics is really important with a car like this in sports sedans. You had much wind tunnel time?
Oh, yeah. No, I think clearly a few people have made a comment of it looks like a brick. The aerodynamics isn't massive on this. Obviously, I'll put a splitter on it to try and get some sort of downforce, which has made a considerable difference. And then...
So how do you design something like this when you don't have the access? Is it a case of just sort of, looking at... I know Mort Fitzgerald with his MG, used to look at, shots of DTM cars and all the rest of it and go, oh, that's interesting. I might try that. Is that the way you do it?
Look, I've actually got a friend of mine who does a lot of aero for the supercars, etc. And look, he's come along when I had to build the front bar. He's come along and looked at it and gone, I'd probably do this, I'd probably do that. It's not ideal, the shape of the car, for what Dan would want me to do. But we're just working with what we can.
So speaking of aerodynamics, you've got an interesting rear wing on the back. Let's go and have a look at over the rear wing. Okay, so we're about at the back of the car, and we've got the rear wing, and it's it's state of the art. We've got the swan neck wing mount. Tell us, is this sort of you? You said you've had a friend knew about aerodynamics. Obviously, someone does. Where did the wing come from? How was it all designed?
Well, this is a wing that Dan Young Composites has made for me. It's definitely state of the art stuff. It's run on a couple marked cars as well. Again, going on his advice is how to mount the wing. This isn't just mounted to the boot, it actually has bar work underneath it that it connects to, and which is directed straight to the chassis. So it does get 100% downforce of what it's applying. So our first round with aero, Dan has always been saying to me, keep going with mechanical grip until you've got no more. And so we put aero on, which our first round was at Tail and Bend last year, and we put the front and the rear on at the same time, and it made a massive difference. I was going into corners and braking to where I used to brake, and then all of a sudden I had to come off the brake and start accelerating through the corner because I was just pulling up way too soon and then had so much more grip. It was unbelievable.
And of course, the whole idea behind the swan neck is the actual working side of a lot of people don't understand the actual working side of your wing is not the top half, it's the underneath, and this gives a much smoother sort of pathway for the air to go under the car.
That's right.
Of course, you've got a really sharp sort of spot there, so I suppose the regulations, is that sort of as high as it can go?
No, I could actually go another probably 3 inches higher. But everything's just a work in progress. Now that we've got the reliable motor and drivetrain, we're actually got spare time to be able to, try and do these extra things now.
Well, it's certainly an interesting car. In terms of the sports sedan regulations, as you were saying, I mean, it's a floor pan car, and you're up against, these high-tech things, coming out of, like John Goulet's Alpha and Tony Ricciardello's, Alfetta. I think I said Alpha for John Goulet, is Audi. John Goulet's Audi, and he's got a second one on the way coming as well. So, is that one of the both strengths and weaknesses of sports sedans at the moment? Is you have that you can do so much with them. It's wonderful, but at the same time, if you've got the money, you can do so much of them that you can have a car that is just so totally dominant.
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess that's just part of running a nationals round. The state series rounds where you've got different categories along the way is good for all sorts of different people, but we're throwing our hat in the ring to go and run the nationals round. So I guess that's just how it is. I'm never going to be beating someone like the talented John Goulet, that car, and Jordan Caruso. They're amazing. I haven't got the budget to try and push forward for that. But again, I'm just happy to be out running with those guys. They're gentlemen racers. If I'm holding them up, or in their way, they're smart enough just to get past you and hold off, and it's really great to be racing with blokes like that.
One of the attractions of the National Series this year for sports sedans is you're going to race at Mount Panorama. I mean, how are you feeling about that? Excitement, fear, trepidation, all of the above?
No fear at all. I'm totally excited to go do that. I want to go and just keep a clear head and be smart about it. And make sure that I make it to the end of the weekend. I mean, it's a lifelong dream, to go to Bathurst. For anyone that's into motorsport, that's amazing. So it's going to be a pretty special weekend for me as well. On the day, it's also going to be 12 months since my dad passed, and he loved motorsport. So it's going to be a massive weekend for us.
Thanks for inviting us over to have a look at the car. Good luck for the rest of the season in the Nationals and at both Mount Panorama and, of course, on the streets of the Gold Coast as well. But for now, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you very much to Travis for inviting us around to his workshop and showing us the Turtle. Great little car, and very much, as I said, in the true spirit of old-fashioned sports sedans. But there's a lot of new things out there, a lot of really sophisticated cars. If you're building a new sports sedan or a drag car or a speedway car or a bike or just about a boat, just about anything, and you'd like us to come round and feature it on In Pit Lane, give us a call. Get in contact with us at theshow@inpitlane.com. That's the best way to get onto us, theshow@inpitlane.com. And make a suggestion, and we'll come around, and hopefully we'll be able to get around and have a look at your car or bike or whatever you're building, and show it to enthusiasts right across Melbourne on Channel 31. Anyway, that's all we've got time for this week. Next week on the program, look, if you're of my generation, the memories of motorsport you have, many of them will come from the iconic photos of a man called Ian Smith. Well, next week on the show, we're going to catch up with Ian. We'll have so much to talk about, I'm sure. He has a lifetime of memories in the local motorsport scene, working with some of the most famous names in the sport. So that's a special edition of In Pit Lane next week when we catch up with Ian Smith. So until then, from all of us at In Pit Lane, thanks for your support, thanks for watching, bye for now.